What's going on, guys? Welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars. Look what we got. The Quintessential Hot Rod. A 1932 Ford Model B Roadster. This right here, I kind of got a soft spot in my heart for a 32 Ford. You know, I had one, built it. Car's been a SEMA. Everything was painted, primed, and polished, just like this one. It actually belongs to a buddy of mine. I borrowed it off of him. A little nostalgia. He got this thing in, and I told him, man, I want to borrow you a little Roadster. I want to cruise around it a little bit. And this thing is killer. I love these cars, whether they go traditional style or, you know, the street rod style. Either way, I love 32 Fords, with fenders, high boys, without fenders. I love them. Vickies, two-door sedans, sedan deliveries, coupes, 5.3, whatever. I love them all. I love 32 Fords. In fact, I've got a 32 Ford wall hanger in my office, and my office is decorated with probably one of the most famous 32 Fords of all time, the Milner Coupe from American Graffiti. These cars are a little different than street rods. You know, they're in the category with street rods, but they didn't get affected by the street rod drop. These cars were kind of off on their own. And, you know, a little backstory with the 32 Ford. The Model A was one of the best-selling cars of all time. Anybody that has a Model A and they tell you it's rare, they're lying to you. They made millions of Model A's. The rare car was the 32 Ford. The 32 Ford is a one-year-only car. Do you know why, kids, that the 32 Ford was only a one-year-only car? The Great Depression. This was the worst-selling Ford, literally, of the 30s. Probably the worst-selling Ford till the Edsel came out. These cars were beautiful, even original. They're gorgeous cars. Nobody could afford to buy one. Henry Ford, being the superstitious, crazy nut bar he is, decided that this car was jinxed. So they ditched it and went to the 33, 34 style, kind of like the ZZ Top Eliminator, that style car, and the 32 got left behind. But cue the late 40s, early 50s, the hot rodders loved these cars. They were buying them for a couple $100s a piece. These cars were always just so popular with the hot rodders. And I will step out on a limb, and next to the Shelby Cobra, there is probably more 32 Fords made than a Shelby Cobra. You got to think about all the different companies that make the kit car Cobras. You got to think about all the companies that make 32 Fords. And then you got to think about it, they still made several thousand real Henry steel 32s. And now you've got companies popping out reproduction steel 32s. And then you've had them making fiberglass bodies for decades. And this car's a fiberglass car. My car's a fiberglass car. To be honest with you, you know, people get, I want real steel and all that stuff. Calm down, Grandpa. I'm gonna fill you in on a little secret on real steel, on a real Henry 32, because I've had one. They're overrated. They're neat, it's cool to say you got it, but at the end of the day, it's not that great. The fiberglass cars are twice the car that the Henry steel car was. You're like, Rob, that's fiberglass. This is a real steel car. Yeah, it is a steel car, but it's also got a wooden bird cage in it. The entire structure of that car inside the doors, firewall, everywhere in that car was framed in wood. Basically, it's tin with wood on the outside of it. And they were super light, but that wood rots out. You got to replace the wood. The fiberglass cars have a steel cage in them. They're all steel reinforced. And yeah, you can take a Henry car, pull the wood out, steel reinforce it. You can do all that. But then you fix 80-year-old sheet metal and getting it all fitting right. And keep in mind, fit and finish in 32 wasn't that great. And getting it as nice as this car, you'll never do it. You can't do it. And not still be original to the roots, not without replacing virtually all the metal on it anyway. A fun fact, there's more 32 Ford Roadsters registered in the state of California than they ever produced worldwide. 32s are very popular cars, very iconic cars. Almost everybody with a hot rod collection is going to have a 32 Ford of some variety, whether it be a 5-window coupe like the American Graffiti car, or a 3-window coupe, or, you know, a high boy roadster like this. And they also made a cabriolet. It's hard to tell on this car because it's got what they call a Duval windshield. But originally, and like my 32 high boy, it had a 4-inch chop factory windshield. So it was a chrome windshield that sat straight up, basically. Had a little arch to it, but very little, not quite like this. But they also made a car called a cabriolet, where the body and the windshield posts were all made together. And those cars were really, really neat. You know, they call these roadsters because they didn't have side glasses in them. Cabriolets did have side glasses. These cars were the bare minimum. There was no such thing as a sports car in 32, but this was the sport version. This was the youthful, cheap version. This car was probably less than $300 new. And of course, it being the 32 Ford, it was also a very red letter year for Ford because it was also the first year of the flathead. This was the very first production car with a V8 engine in it, was a 1932 Ford. And I'm gonna get my flathead guys on my ass when I say this, but I'm gonna tell you something. You can take the world's fastest flathead, the best one ever. I've never seen it, but it's kind of like unicorns. We all heard about this awesome flathead, but nobody's never seen one. You can take the best running flathead, V8 Ford, in the world, and it's about equivalent to a 305 Chevrolet on a good day. And the thing is, they're extremely temperamental. They puke water out from under their heads. They are very primitive motors. And I mean, there's some out there that make 350 horsepower, 400 horsepower. And for something that started out with 85 horsepower, that's pretty impressive. That being said, they don't live long. You know, like it does 350 horsepower for about 3 dyno pulls and then blows all to hell. You know, they're not made to do that. I mean, I'll be honest with you, a flathead engine is virtually a tractor motor. Even the flathead 4-cylinders they had in these, and that was in the Model A's. And like I said, they actually carried the engine over into the 33, 34, and throughout. Matter of fact, Ford carried the flathead, I think, all the way up to like 1954. You could get a flathead. I think it's 54. Don't hold me on that one. 52 or 54. But anyway, you could get the flathead V8. You got to think about it. Everybody else had inline 6s. Pontiac had, Buick had inline 8s. But, I mean, we're inline engines, which are torque monsters. And proven, which Chevrolet kept the 6 all the way to 1954 in their cars. All the 32 cars kind of loosely mimicked each other a little bit. But the 32 Ford was iconic, that grill shape. And you got people that put these grills on Model A's and put these grills on rat rods. Hell, I've seen these grills put on everything. I've seen custom farm tractors with 32 Ford grills in them. And I mean, you know, that's just a very popular, iconic grill. You know, these cars have really stood the test of time and they're not dying. I mean, they have car shows that are just for 32 Fords. I mean, that's the thing. They have groups. These guys get in these cars and drive them. And that's another thing, too, about this is real hot rod shit. Like on a pretty day, take it out on an evening. This is the best ice cream car ever. Get your girl because she's going to be right there, right beside you. This car's 39 inches wide at its widest point inside. And it tapers, the car does, which is sexy from the outside looking in. But from the inside, it sucks. If your ass is wider than about 38, your little lady friend better be very slender. And keep in mind, you also got pedals in this little footwell, a shifter. You know, you got a lot of steering column, steering wheel. You got a lot going on in a small space. But that being said, you know, they're still a fun car. This is the closest you're going to get to like riding a motorcycle and driving a car at the same time. I mean, this thing's open. Matter of fact, the guy I bought my Roadster kit from, my body and the frame from, he sold one to a fella that was driving down the highway, and you know, you see the tire stick out on a highboy. He actually got under a transfer truck, wasn't watching what he's doing, and got caught up in the tires of a transfer truck. Well, they just slung the car off, and hell, he went into the ditch. This thing barrel rolled. This dude broke like arms, legs. He was in bad shape. He was in the hospital a long time. And when they popped the mold for my car, when my car came out of the mold, the one next to it was the new one they were building for him. Because these cars, just people love them. I mean, the damn thing almost killed him. I mean, if it had been a full body car, that'd never happened. And he's building another one. That's hot rodding, guys. Guys, enjoy this classic 32 and got some cute little girl walking around, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars. Melting.
I too. Yeah!
Yeah!